feeling good. Howard Thurman supported feeling good when he wrote, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and go do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive." Dr. Sean Jinwright speaks to the importance of peaceful states in creating what we want. Flow is the state of consistent, focused, and nearly effortless activity that consistently produces desired results. Free of judgment, doubt, fear, and confusion, guided by a sense of effortless creative certainty. And Ernest Holmes reminds us of our inherent creative power. You are one with the creative genius. Your mind is an outlet through which the creative intelligence of the universe seeks fulfillment. Let us use the creative power of our words and affirm together. I am co-creating a world that works for everyone. Thank you. And now for Reverend Kathleen.
Oh, let's breathe together. Those are some beautiful quotes, setting us all up for feeling good. So, this way. So I think it's important to understand that we are part of a greater community. We have the Center for Spiritual Living Delaware. We're part of, though, the Centers for Spiritual Living that are it's an international organization that has centers like us all over the world. In fact, we have somebody here visiting us and checking us out who has been in Centers for Spiritual Living for many years. So Robert, thank you so much for joining us. The theme or the overarching vision statement of Centers for Spiritual Living is creating a world that works for everyone. Our spiritual community has decided to turn that into creating a world that works for all, because we want to include the planet as well. And so when we keep that in mind, if we're going to create a world, co-create a world that works for all, it's important to understand what that means and how we get there. And so this year, Centers for Spiritual Living has invited us all to join in one grand theme, which is called A Grand Rising. And that theme is talking about the underpinning tenets of our teachings, which is it begins in consciousness first. The grand rising in consciousness is what is called for in order to make progress. I mean, real, lasting progress. Otherwise, otherwise we're just fixing. And then things will bubble up again unless that consciousness is truly transformed. So we are intentionally, this year, I'm inviting you to join me in that, because I know we all have freedom of choice, intentionally joining in the idea of a collective grand rising in consciousness. And to do that by daily greeting each other with a grand rising. And if you don't have somebody to greet in the morning immediately, greet the day with a grand rising, first thing when you get out of bed. And it's a reminder that, okay, I'm here to be a part of this upliftment of consciousness that is taking place. I'm here to be a part of this grand rising across the planet, and understanding that each time we do that, because we're interconnected with all life, that we are sending waves of the vibrations of the Most High all around the planet. We are contributing to the grand rising of all humanity. So this year we're being invited to step out of our comfort zones, to lean into our inner healing work, to share our truth and to co-create a world that works not only for ourselves, because many people when they first come into this teaching is like, I just want my life to be different, I want to get it together, which is good, but then it's also an understanding that this is a collective thing that's going on. It's my inner work, which is contributing to all other inner work and supporting each other in that as well. That's the description of the beloved community, supporting each other in being more loving, more peaceful, more of our divine selves. And doing so feels good. Do you feel it? Doing so feels good. And I love to remind myself that feeling good is feeling God. Feeling good is feeling God. Dr. Sean Ginwright, in his book, 4 Pivots, Reimagining Justice, Reimagining Ourselves, offers 4 practices for this grand rising in consciousness. This is a man who's dedicated his life to social activism and has awakened and is now aware of the importance of, if we're going to have long-lasting change, which I just mentioned, then it begins with inner work. It begins with transforming consciousness. And so that's how he dedicates his time now as a professor, as as someone who goes around and does trainings in corporations and all kinds of places, public schools all over the country. And the 4 basic pivots are called awareness, connection, vision, and presence. So what is awareness? What is that pivot? That's a pivot from lens, looking outward and thinking if I just fix things out here, then that's going to take care of it, to understanding it begins within, mirror. So it's from lens to mirror, understanding my inner work is what will achieve lasting social change. Connection, that's the next pivot. It's a pivot from transactional to transformational relationships. The shift from creating relationships that co-create a sense of belonging, care, and inclusion, the beloved community. Vision we covered last week. The other 2 we covered the week before that. And its vision is pivoting from focusing on fixing problems, which I just talked about, to possibility creating. And we do that with our visioning process, from fixing problems to possibility creating. And that means building something new instead of, again, just trying to fix the problems that are there. What is it that I want to create? What is this beloved community, and how do I go about that? And today, the focus is on presence, pivoting from addiction to being busy, to the calm, restorative flow state. I love it, flow, the flow state. So all 4 pivots then are critical for truly bringing about that social justice, a world that works for all. Does everybody see the connection? Because I think it's really important that we understand how this all connects together. So the 3 things I'd like to talk about today related to this pivoting from addiction to being busy to flow state is impact of a culture that values being busy. The second one is flow, understanding the value of flow. And the last one is the value of rest, which is actually a part of flow, but I think it deserves its own attention here today. So impact of a culture that values being busy. Raise your hands if you keep to-do lists. Okay? And we've all been trained to do that, right? Raise your hand if you have been brought up to value that you have to earn rest by working hard. Yeah. And then raise your hand if you've come to believe that rest, or that means taking time for meditation, is weakness. It means that there's like this underlying thing or I'm wasting my time, or, think about that. How often do you think that? Oh, spiritual practice, I have other things that are more important to do today. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand on that one. Think about it, though. while to-do lists are not bad in and of themselves, they are a symbol of an underlying belief or value in being busy. And the idea that being busy is a way that I can prove that I matter. Yes. So while to-do lists are not bad in of themselves, they symbolize our value, that values being busy, and a way to prove that I matter. Being busy is the way I show that I matter. And many of us have also experienced the impact of constant busyness on our lives. So let me illustrate. I'll illustrate with my own life, because I totally bought into all of that, hook, line, and sinker, from the time I was, actually, I can remember in high school. I can't really say I was that way in earlier grades, but I know in high school, it was achieve, 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 be involved in as many groups as possible, many different groups and organizations, and my youth group, and being in service, and so on and so forth. So it started there. And then in college, my freshman year, I kind of let go of that and partied a lot and lost my scholarship. So I learned, the learning for me was, oh my gosh, I can't let up. I have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And that continued on into my young adult life, raising a family, and and so on and so forth. And so I think it all started coming to a head when I was working as a school counselor at McCullough Elementary School, and there were 1,200 elementary students in one building, if you can imagine how many different classrooms that was. And I can remember having conversations with people, priding myself that I'm in this school that has 1,200 students. There are 2 school counselors, but I have all the 3rd grade and half of the 4th grade, and I can't even remember how many classrooms it was. It was a lot. And I do classroom guidance, and then I see 100 kids in my office. Oh, you can see where it's going, right? And then I'm raising a family, and I'm also, oh, by the way, I'm also a licensed practitioner, and I'm traveling back and forth an hour away up to another center that's in New Jersey, and teaching classes up there. And I have, oh my gosh, I also have all these clients that I'm working with as a practitioner. So the bottom line was, at the end of the year, I was on the road to burnout. At the end of that year, I remember complete exhaustion, and also a chronic illness that I had had for quite a long time was not going away, even though I was having people pray for me, and I was praying for myself, and so on and so forth. I was talking the talk, but I was not walking the walk. And I did try to, squeeze in my prayer and my meditation here and there, but it wasn't consistent. So that summer, with a lot of, again, prayer support from a fellow practitioner, with a lot of holistic help from the holistic community, alternative medicine and stuff like that, I was ready for the next year. And so it's 1999, September 1999, and I am sure that this new way is going to work. So this was my new way. Wake up 5 o'clock in the morning, do yoga, meditate. You do my yoga, meditation, and prayer work. Well, actually, it did work, because what happened that year is I saw fewer students. I mean, I really got, I found ways to do more groups in my office and things like that. And by the end of the school year, and everybody's heard this part, which is when the roof collapsed in my office when I was away at a retreat, a journaling retreat, and I was asking myself, what's next? Is this really working for me? And so I had a wake-up call, and I realized that it was time for me to leave school counseling and to be quiet for a period of time. And I did this for 2 years. I was not working for 2 years, although I was still traveling back and forth to New Jersey for a spiritual community and all of those things. But I didn't, it did cut down significantly on the amount of stress. And that was when the idea was birthed to go to ministry school and get into ministry. So what I've learned over those years is the importance of balance and the importance of taking time to get into a flow state or rest. In fact, researchers have found that the values that we hold about which relate to busyness, the values of productivity, efficiency, competition, which is a culture that is really into being busy, has a harmful impact on mental health, showing up as feelings of emptiness, isolation, inadequacy, shame, anxiety, and depression. Everybody got it? Dr. Jenright says the only way to pivot away from busyness, our addiction to busyness, is to see its impact on our lives. And not only on all of those feelings that I talked about, but its impact on our ability to experience joy and well-being and human connectedness. So, are you ready then to pivot from busyness to flow? Yeah? Raise your hands. Oh, there's a few who still aren't, but okay, that's all right. We'll see if we can bring you along. Okay, so flow, the state of flow. I love this definition of flow. It's a state of mind, awareness, free of judgment, doubt, fear, and confusion. It's a state of consistent, focused, and nearly effortless activity that consistently produces desired results. Desired results, feeling good. Right? Isn't that what we're all truly wanting from all of our activities, is to feel good, feeling God. So flow state gives us what we're looking for. And the flow state is often acknowledged in artists. Some researchers have watched artists painting, and I was immediately thinking about the artists in our community. and being in that flow state. Musicians as well, athletes, or anytime that you're doing something that you truly love and you enjoy doing, you can enter, and everybody at one point in time has entered the flow state. It can be cooking a good meal. It could be really anything. Howard Thurman, I think, spoke to that so beautifully, this flow state, when he instructed his followers to do what they enjoy and what makes them come alive. To do what they enjoy and what makes them come alive. And the world benefits. Flow is a natural state that's cultivated through spiritual practice. Our visioning, meditation, spiritual mind treatment, yoga, chanting, Tai Chi, whatever form of meditation there is. And by the way, I'm going to give a little plug for Candace's class that starts this Tuesday. Meditation is more than you think. It's on Zoom. It's a class that's created by Centers for Spiritual Living. If you're thinking of going on for prac training, it will give you a prerequisite for that. So I encourage you to take the class, to sign up for the class, and to do it ASAP. And then let me know after service if you're interested. And you can sign up for it online on our Center for Spiritual Living Delaware website under classrooms or classroom registration. You'll see it as one of the buttons at the top. So in the Taoist tradition, I think that's where some of the go with the flow has originated. In the Taoist tradition, practicing the way is actually going with the flow. And it's likened to being like water. Being like water. And water is not worried about obstacles. If there are rocks, if there's a hill to fall over down to the next level, water doesn't care. Water just goes with the flow and goes around the obstacles and just continues moving. And so when we become like the water, we think of ourselves as the water and going with the flow, then obstacles become part of the way. And we no longer fight the obstacle. And what I was thinking of is Ernest Holmes' famous statement about we are against nothing and for something. It's something to that effect. That when we are against something, when we fight something, we and resist it, what happens? It grows, it persists, yes. And so fighting against is not the way to go. The way to go is, what am I for? And that's what Dr. Jenright is teaching. He's saying it's time to stop fighting against and start focusing on, what do we want to build here? We want to build a culture that values belonging, that values other people, that builds relationships that are transformational, the beloved community. What are we for? And if we can keep our focus on what we are for, then we can move. There's a flow state that goes along with that as we continue to shed the obstacles in the way, or move around them. Actually, with ourselves personally, we're shedding limiting beliefs. We're letting them go, and we're continuing to move forward. Jenright says flow is essential to solving social justice issues by transforming consciousness. Let's move on to rest. So rest really is a part of flow. And how many of you, when you were little, heard the story of the tortoise and the hare? Yeah. It's interesting. If you really look at that story, what is it teaching? Because the rabbit took a nap, right? The rabbit dared to rest, and then he lost. What kind of a message does that give us or give our children? It's buying into a culture that doesn't value periods of rest when you're tired. These things are so subtle when you think about it. So rest is not a weakness. It's totally the opposite. Rest is giving ourselves permission to slow down and replenish. Jenright calls it an act of freedom. He says rest is an act of freedom necessary for the social justice movement. Rest is defined as the ability to let go of worry and, I like this, experience sustained periods of peace of mind. Sustained periods of peace of mind. Rest. Our spiritual practice cultivates that. And the idea is to carry it throughout your day, that sustained consciousness of peace, of inner peace. And so not all cultures buy into the idea that rest is bad, or that it's a sign of weakness. I was thinking of cultures like Spain and Mexico and Italy, and there are probably others too that I'm not aware of, that have some form of midday siesta from, say, I don't know, whatever it is, midday siesta, whatever their time frame is, but it's a couple hours or so. Naps are encouraged. Naps are a good thing, right? In these cultures. I know my husband values a nap. He takes a nap every day after lunch, and it's awesome. Bhutan, again, valuing rest, has something they call the gross national happiness, that it's legislated. They do a survey of everybody in their country to measure the strength and the health of the nation according to how happy they are. And some of the questions center around how much rest, sleep, recreation, and time developing your spirituality do you invest your time in? Because they know that rest is social justice. Rest is social justice. I'm going to say that again. Rest is social justice. Listen, listen, listen. Nature teaches us the value of rest. Think about the farmer who lets the soil rest, knowing that if they do that, they will grow for a season. They'll grow healthier crops. And I'm thinking about the winter time, where the trees are resting, the bulbs under the ground are resting. Everything's resting, and then to bloom forth as something new. So has everybody got it? Rest, flow state, that's the path. That's the path to what it is that you truly want. So feeling good is feeling God. Repeat that after me. Feeling good is feeling God.
Feeling good is feeling God.
So it's time to let go of the values of busyness, of thinking that productivity and efficiency are more valuable than rest. And so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those, but they can get in the way of rest. Spiritual practice is a powerful path to developing that consciousness. And as we embrace feeling good, attaining sustained states of inner peace, as we engage in activities that we love, what are we doing? We're co-creating a world that works for all. And so it is. Thank you so much, my friends.
Feel free to take a nap while I sing this next song.